There's issues at hand we are not discussing. But no, first off, congratulations to Fulham. Hats off to them. Hats off to their manager. Hats off to mainly Antonee Robinson, who was probably the best player on the pitch today. Covered nearly every blade of grass on that left hand side. Completely locked Mo Salah out of this game, and read the game extremely well. I know last season he was at the top for interceptions, and his athleticism and his ability to read the game is second to none. Probably the best left back in the Premier League right now, or one of them, right? If he was just a handful of years younger, I think a lot of clubs would be all over him. But was outstanding today and did pretty much everything that you could ask of. And then let's keep in mind, right? This is not the Fulham of 2010s, of the early 2000s and stuff like that. This is a new Fulham, and they've taken points off of every Big Six team this year. Am I making excuses for this team? Absolutely not. We're going to go in on this team today, but we're also going to keep it very realistic and grounded on where we actually are right now. I'm seeing a lot of reactions from a lot of fans where they're kind of going overboard, kind of turning against Arne Slot a little bit, worried that we could potentially bottle this title. That's not going to happen. At least I don't think it will take something catastrophic for that to happen. And even in a game where we did not look very good, there's a series of errors, and all three of those goals that are worrying, we still were able to pull it back and get really close and almost draw this match, right? But it's never a good thing when you Amazon same day or DoorDash 3 goals within 15 minutes. It's not a good thing. So you got to ask yourself, because of the situation, is this a sign of things to come? Or is this just a rough patch? And I think that's the biggest overarching question that I have going into this match or coming out of this match more so than anything. And I want you guys to give me your kind of perspective on this whole thing. You look at Robbo, you look at VVD, in the last handful of games, they haven't been great, and mainly Robbo, right? But VVD, even in the last game and this game, he looks lost, which is really strange to say about VVD because he's such a confident defender and so sure of himself and reads the game better than anybody in the world or maybe in the history of the game in terms of center back. And he doesn't look the same in these last 2 games. You ask yourself, is this a rough patch? Or is he going into the stage of his career that every athlete goes into when you hit your mid to late 30s, right? In you ask FSG is probably scratching their head like, man, do we give this generational player, because VVD is a 2 year or 3 year, when we know that this is the sweet spot for a fall off? And I think FSG will look at these moments and they'll say, or Edwards at least will look at these moments and say, I don't know. Same thing with Salah. He looks like he has completely fallen off in the last 2 months, and the production has really dried up. And some will say, well, he hasn't been rotated. He's exhausted. He had 2 weeks off, right? And we're talking about elite athletes now, right? Where this is their job. This is all they do, right? This is what they do for a living. You are expected to perform at the highest levels, right? When it comes to these things, because you're getting paid at the highest levels, right? For me, I don't know if that's an excuse, right? I don't know if that's an excuse. Because imagine this: you have your job that you do, and you say, "Well, I've worked 5 days a week for the last year, and I've only had weekends off. That's why I'm not performing at the level that I need to be at." Well, maybe you need to find another profession or another line of work, because you can't really do this job at the highest level consistently on the schedule that we've kind of laid out, right? If that makes sense. So I don't know if that analogy makes sense, but it's like what Reese said in the Discord. If there's any reason that Edwards doesn't renew any of these contracts this summer, this is the tape that they're pulling. This is the moments that they're pulling. This is the game that they're going to look at, right? And Konaté as well. So before we jump into the game, because we have a lot to talk about today, subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're watching from. Love to know where you guys are watching from. We got people from all around the world, people from Dallas, from New York, from Dublin, Ireland in the house as well, Africa, all over Africa, South Africa, Zambia, Ethiopia, everywhere, right? So tell us where you're watching from. But the first half, so this is not what Slot wanted to see, obviously, in that first half. All 3 goals are avoidable, and mistakes by Konaté, Verge, and Robbo. And a lot of people will blame Jones for that Konaté goal, or the goal that went over Konate's head. But I think Konaté was just, I mean, he's 6'4", 180 something pounds, almost 200 pounds. He shouldn't be getting pushed over that easily. And the ref's not going to call that as a foul, right? And I think Jones is thinking, oh, Konaté's clearing that. He's clearing that all day, and he doesn't. And it ricochets off of his knee, falls fortunately into the path of, I believe it was Sessegnon, who slotted it home, right? So my question is this something that we need to address now, or is this just a bad game for this back line? That's the hard part, I think. And you worry because of the age of two of those guys in that mistake, in Robertson and in VVD, in those mistakes. But football is vicious, and we know that, and we have to be okay with that. That when the slide happens sharply. And unfortunately, because we actually looked good in that first half with the build-up play and how slick that we looked, that Maka goal was chef's kiss. That ruined his whole goal celebration and stuff like that. What proceeded afterwards. But we actually looked good going forward. It was the mistakes, conceding in 15 minutes, which has never happened in this season, and which typically doesn't happen. Is this a moment, or do we worry about it? That's the question. I want to know. Put your comments down below, right? So it kind of unraveled a little bit in that first half. And for the first time, I think this Liverpool side looked unsure of themselves all season, like completely rattled, completely unsure of themselves. And were arguing amongst each other on the field. It was very interesting. And VVD was kind of the ringleader of that thing, where his disposition is very calm, cool, collected, strolling about, right? Which I think is a strength of him. Some people may say it's a weakness. I think that's the strength of VVD. And I think that's what makes him a really good leader, because he never gets rattled. But he was rattled this match, and he was rattled last match. So it just makes me wonder. I don't know. Maybe I'm jumping to conclusions here, but the second half, let's talk about it. Credit to Slot for making those adjustments in the second half. We looked better after those substitutes came on. Harvey made a huge impact and a positive impact on this game. And if he leaves in the summer, I actually would be really bummed out, because I don't think he ever really got a fair shake at Liverpool. Chiesa looked dangerous, and Diaz looked really good as well. And not to mention Connor Bradley. He was outstanding today. And he made me feel very positive about this right back position for the future, obviously, because he is a out and out right back. But he's a very, very talented player, and he seems ready to take on this challenge. So I hope the Jones experiment gets put on the back burner for a little bit. I think he's a good rotation piece there, because I don't think he actually had a bad game again today. I think the rest of the three actually had a worse game than he did. But I think he's good to rotate in. I don't think that's a position that he maybe should be permanently playing. I think that's Bradley's position rightfully. And maybe that's the whole reason behind why Jones is being rotated into that position, because we want Bradley to take the crown in that position and not have to go and buy a right back that would be of Liverpool's caliber, because then that would stunt, obviously, Bradley's growth. So he made a claim on that position today, and I'm really very happy. The main issue that I had with Arne Slot today, now I don't have too many issues with Arne today, as opposed to some of the stuff that I've been seeing online about Arne, is that he may have overcooked a little bit with putting the three at the back, right? With one center back in VVD, right? It threw the momentum off for a little bit, for a few minutes, which was crucial, because there was really only 20 minutes where we had a lot of joy in this match, or 25 minutes where we had a lot of joy in this match. But I'd rather have a manager that's trying everything for us to get back in. Excuse me. I'd rather have a manager was trying everything for us to get back into the game, versus a manager that doesn't try anything to get us back into this game and take risk. I will take that. I will take that every time, even if it throws things up and the tactics go wrong and things like that. I will take a non-stubborn manager than a stubborn manager. And I think a lot of people, they think that Arne is stubborn, and I think because he just thinks completely different than we do, right? He looks at the game completely different than the average fan. And I think he's just thinking on a different thought plane. So I think put Chiesa on, put Elliott on, play this position, do this, do that. That's the obvious thing. But I think Slot is very obsessed with not doing the obvious thing. And you can kind of see that with some of his tactics. Do they work sometimes? Most of the times, yes, actually. Do they not work sometimes? Yes. Sometimes they don't work. But I'd rather have a manager that's willing to push the envelope and do those things than a manager that's not. We looked the better team for the 20 or 25 minutes that he made those substitutions and those changes. And I think it begs the question, which we had in the Discord, is Slot not rotating because he feels that he's found a set 11 that works and he doesn't want to mess up the formula, right? And I mean, it's got us to where we are today, right? And I'm going to talk about that as well so that we can stay a little bit grounded on this whole thing. Or does he not trust the players, right? With Chiesa and Elliott, both who made a huge impact and continue to make huge impacts anytime that they come on with the little time that they've been given. Or does he feel he doesn't have the options that he maybe wants in this side, right? Which is why he trialed Jones at Trent, Jones at Trent's and Bradley's position as they were, obviously injured, which I think he'll catch heat for that tactical switch, but I don't think he actually should because Jones didn't really play bad, right? So that's what I want to know. Put your perspective down below. Is it Slot doesn't trust the players? Is it because he feels like he's just found the solid rotation? He doesn't want to mess things up? Or is he just playing the cards that he's dealt? Or is it something else? Let us know down below because I really want to get us kind of chatting about this because I think it's a very interesting dynamic. And I guess we really won't know until Arne Slot tells us himself. But let's look at the facts, right? What needs to change on this side? Or does anything need to change at all? Let's, of course, keep this in full context, right? It's 2 losses all the way up until April. 11 points still clear at the top with 7 matches to go. This isn't a sign of that we should panic right now in this moment, but this could be a problem moving forward, right? It could definitely be a problem moving forward and into next season. But is that a next season problem? And are we taking next season problems and bringing them into this season? Is the question that I'm asking. Because it's very weird and it's interesting for this Liverpool team. We are successful, but we are still in a transitionary period, which is very, very rare for a lot of teams that are in transitionary periods. Because typically it's when you're losing, when you're making big changes and you're letting big players go and you're making managerial changes. We're doing this as we are experiencing success. And I don't know if I've seen a team actually be in a moment that we're in right now, right? So I don't know. You get the feeling because of this. I think you always have that feeling of, do we actually need to tear this down? Should we be renewing Salah? Should we be renewing VVD? And then there's the other side of the ball where there people are shouting, renew Salah, renew VVD. And I think that's because we're in such a unique position where, yes, we are successful, but it's still very evident that we do need to tear this down. And that's just my personal opinion. It's still very evident that we do need to make a transition and we need to take a change. Because if we keep with these players, I think performances actually get worse in the future. Right now, it works. And they are what we need in this moment right now. And I think a lot of fans, they live in the right now, which I think is a positive way to live in life. But I think FSG and Edwards are always looking towards the future, which is why I think there's probably going to be some big changes this season or this off season that we may not understand or 100% agree with because we have a different line of thought when it comes to running the Liverpool Football Club, and that makes sense. And I think because we are successful in this moment, successful in a transition period, successful in a rebuild and a teardown, which is so rare again, I might add, a lot of fans will be calling for Edwards' head, Slot's head, FSG's head for some of the decisions that they'll end up making that we don't understand right now as fans, but will make sense, I think, in the future. And I think this game is a perfect example of why some of the decisions that will be made this summer are being made. So it's very interesting. I don't think this has ever happened or it's happened to another team in the Premier League. You guys will have to let me know if this has ever really been a thing. Maybe when Sir Alex was transitioning out at Manchester United, but Salah, VVD, Robbo, and even Trent, they're right now. They're right now players, and we need them right now, right? But I think it's a different answer when you're looking at the future. We got West Ham next, right? And that should be straightforward games, but we have to approach them like they're finals because anything could happen in those things. But again, let's keep it into perspective. 26 games unbeaten is incredible. And I think this side needs to get a lot more credit for that and a lot more recognition for going 26 games unbeaten. 2 losses we've suffered all the way until April. We got 7 games left and we've lost twice, guys. Put that into perspective. Arne Slot has done a tremendous job because he's been able to put us in a position where we can lose games this late into the season, when usually that is not the case. So for those turning against Arne, I think it's misguided, it's misjudged, judged, kind of treatment that you're having right now, look at the big picture of things. We are 11 points clear, and we suffered our second loss of the season with 7 games to go. You should be applauding this team. You should be applauding this manager for doing what they've been able to do in the situation that we are in right now. It's absolutely incredible. So we're right on track regardless of this result. And again, don't forget, Fulham is actually a pretty good team, right? That we almost clawed it back and we actually almost drew this game. So put that into context going into this weekend. You're going to hear a lot of noise. You're going to hear a lot of crazy stuff from even our own fans, other fans. You still have one of the best managers in the world, and it's still a very, very good team that just needs some changes and some tinkering, which I think will end up happening this summer. So subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you guys think down below. What happens in these next handful of games? They should be straightforward, but let me know what your perspective on the state of the team is right now. And what do you feel like needs to change, if anything needs to change? I'm actually not sure right now. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you guys subscribe. Again, we're almost close to 7,000. We've been hanging around 6,500 for a little bit, or 6,800, but let's get it. I appreciate everybody for tuning in, and we will see you on the next one. Peace.